Peace and love, everyone, and welcome back to another Sunday Hope and Healing session. For today, I want to start off with posing a question to us, a question of significant depth, a question that we don't typically uh, think about. And it's a question um, that, quite frankly, a lot of the times we're too busy in the busyness of life to take time to ponder, to question, or to reflect upon. And that question for us today is, and the question that I'd like for each of us to pose to ourselves today is why were you born? Why were you born? Not what are you supposed to do with your life, not what career you chose or were supposed to choose, and not what responsibilities you carry. But why did you come here at all? Why did you come to this planet in the first place? Because I feel like if you're here right now in this particular Sunday Hope and Healing session, that there is a very good chance that somewhere along life's journey, and maybe for much of your life, you've had this sense that you're here for something. And maybe you haven't known exactly what that is. Maybe you haven't found a way to explain that even to yourself. But you have had perhaps a quiet feeling just within you, a persistent feeling, a sense that your life is supposed to mean something more than what you've been told or what you've been sold to see or to look at or to focus on the surface, right? And then over time, that feeling can get suppressed and get buried underneath a lot of other stuff, a lot of thoughts related to your survival, related to the fulfillment of expectations, the expectations that other have you, roles that you fit in, boxes that you've allowed yourself to be programmed into, and responsibilities that you might have. But that very deep and fundamental question, that underlying feeling, has perhaps never really truly gone away, right? And greetings to everybody who's here today, Curly Conscious King, and I'm not sure if it's Gabrielle or if it's Gabriel, but welcome. And to everyone else who's here, we certainly welcome you into this space, and from my heart to yours, I'm sending a lot of love out in your direction, trusting that it's reaching you where it is that you need to be reached and where it is that you need to be touched today. Okay. And so we're dealing with this. We're dealing with this question, why were you born? Right? And let me just put out there that today's session isn't so much about trying to think our way into the answer, right? This isn't like an intellectual exercise. But we are going to do here together today is try to open up and create a space, to create a safe space that helps to put you in touch with something that's deeper than just thought. There's something deeper than the realm of the intellect. All right. Something that you might have felt since you were very, very young, but never really had words to clothe it in, right? So I'm going to invite you to just let yourself kind of settle in, get cozy in the space that we're creating together. Okay. Because you don't actually have to figure anything out right now. What I invite you to do rather is to just listen. Listen with your inner ear and endeavor to get as present as possible to what it is that you find to resonate with your spirit, to resonate with your soul. Okay. And so, like I said, in this process, what we're going to endeavor to do is create an environment, to create a space that helps put you in a position where it is easy for, or easier or helps support you in your endeavor to remember why you specifically were born. Okay. And we're going to do some TTM healing around this. But I really want to encourage you to endeavor to as much as possible to really just be present with this, with what we're dealing with today. Because it isn't just some willy-nilly surface level stuff. We want to help you to become present with what's most you, with what's most true for your soul, okay? And help you to feel a deep sense of alignment or realignment with that, right? Okay. Because the reality is that you may have felt a significant portion of your life where you felt like you're waiting for something, right? Feeling like your real life hasn't actually started. You've perhaps gone to school, you've maybe gotten a job, you've perhaps made nice significant strides in terms of your career. You may have raised children, may even have grandchildren, but may still have this inner kind of thing tugging away at you that your real life hasn't really quite yet started. Okay. Feeling like there's something that you haven't been able to quite get in touch with, or something that you haven't been able to quite access, right? And you may have felt this kind of thing, or felt this sense of being different, or feeling like something wasn't quite right since childhood. Okay. And, I just kind of want to share with you that this sense that you've had, this feeling that you're here for a reason, that's not coming from a place of fantasy within the realm of your imagination, right? It's coming from a place from deep within your soul. A place from deep within your soul, remembering who it is that you are and why you're here. And then your mind endeavoring to align with that divine memory. Okay. All right. So we're going to endeavor again to support all of us in getting there, in uncovering that, getting to the core of this pivotal question. And I had a banner for it. Why were you born? Why were you born? Because we're really about getting to the heart of the purpose of your birth in the first place. Like, that's such a significant thing, but a thing that we don't typically put much energy into thinking about. But it's the thing that actually matters most, right? Okay. But that's not how the world trains us to operate. We're trained to actually, rather than to remember who we are, we're actually in a way programmed to forget who it is that we are. Okay. Instead of being programmed to, or realigning with our deepest truth and our deepest essence, we're in a lot of ways programmed who to be. We're told what to value. We're programmed that we're socialized to believe that we need to fit in, and we're trying to figure out how to fit in, right? How to ignore the out of the box things that we sense and to perceive, rather than leaning into them. Okay. All right. That's how we get caught up in what I refer to as the matrix of third dimensional beliefs of separation and limitation, which is the box that we've been programmed into, and that those of us who are seeking to enter into that sustainable state of supreme satisfaction, those of us who are endeavoring to transcend this matrix, this illusion, or the illusions of this world, those of us who are endeavoring to enter into a state of enlightenment and to truly ascend in our spiritual journey, you know, we've got deeper things within ourselves that we're wanting to uncover, wanting to allow ourselves to be revealed to ourselves, to our own awareness, and to then live that out loud in the world and to feel safe in the process of doing so. And so along the way, we've had so many temptations leading us away from that. And then along the way, we somehow became who we were told to be instead of uncovering who we already were according to our own unique, individualized, divine blueprint. So I'm going to do a prayer and then we're going to get into the healing. So God, I know you to be a healer. I know you to be the author of our soul's story, which is considerably different than the story that we've been told about who we are, and even the story that we've told ourselves about ourselves. That you are the architect of the divine blueprint according to which we were made, and the one who established the purpose for our living and for our lives, even in this earth realm. And through the union that we share through the power of your pure love. And the efficacy of your healing power. I'm demonstrating you as a healer on the behalf of, state your name if you want to participate in this healing. For the purpose of neutralizing all of the barriers, blockades, illusion, debris, and the stuff of life that hinders us from tapping into, recognizing, understanding the truth of why it is that we were born, why we came here in the first place. From the point of the causal root in the entire energy field of every strand of DNA in every cell of our bodies, and transmuting that into and replacing it with a divine revelation of the truth of who we are, why it is that we were born, and how we might live in perfect alignment with what that divine purpose always has been. And I bear witness to our wholeness on this date and in this time and space called now. Thank you. Thank you for this gift of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and get more deeply into this. Get more deeply into this work as we engage in unlocking within ourselves the answer to the question: why were you born? Why were you ever born in the first place? Some of us have had the experiences of being born in the context of what didn't seem like a planned birth. Okay. Many of us may have come to believe that our birth was by a mistake, but you're not a mistake. Okay. You've always been one who's tapped into things a little bit differently, one who feels other people deeply, perhaps, one who has possibly questioned reality. Okay. And if you're here today, it's because you're feeling in your soul a sense of alignment with this healing that we're doing today. And so we welcome you here into this space. All right. All right. And so we make room for a sense of spiritual amnesia being resolved and being rectified. Want to address calcification on the pineal gland. Actually, before we address the calcification on the pineal gland, let's first address ossification on the pineal gland, clearing away allowing for the clearing away of all ossification on the pineal, breaking it down into quantum particles and transmuting it into photons of light, as well as any calcification on the pineal gland, breaking that down into quantum particles and transmuting it into photons of light. I want to stimulate the pineal gland that it operates optimally. Greetings to you, Suni Maria. Glad to have you in the space today. Happy Sunday to you as well. All right. Let's take a moment and address within ourselves the awareness and the sense of self-efficacy. That our purpose isn't something that we need to find. That it's something that we've been endeavoring not to forget. Okay. So in that context, let's address memory. I want to first address cellular memory of trauma that's stored within our cells. Cellular memory of trauma that's stored within our cells. Want to transmute that trauma from the point of the root cause, allowing it to be dissolved. The trauma of how people may have behaved towards you as you were growing up. The ways that you've been programmed to dim your light. You don't have to dim your light, beloved. There may be things within your soul's memory of times where allowing your light to shine ended up being painful for you. Or where you may have been ridiculed for asking the deeper questions that others didn't have the courage to ask, but that you had the courage to ask. And let's strengthen us all to be able to feel that sense of being divinely emboldened to live courageously. And to live courageously isn't to live never having fear. The truth of the matter is that in this life, there are things that come up that result in us feeling fearful or feeling afraid, that have us in whatever ways tied into this matrix of illusion, this matrix of separation and limitation. Okay. And we can buy sometimes into that false evidence appearing real because we're constantly bombarded with the false evidence. And it's presented to us in a way that makes it seem and feel so real that the evidence, though it may be false, definitely appears significantly real. So our endeavor isn't to necessarily to never have fear or to never be exposed to false evidence that appears real. Our endeavor is to face the fear and to overcome it. Courage cannot exist in the absence of what is fearful or risky. But it's by facing things potentially from a vulnerable state, facing the things where you may feel some degree of uncertainty, facing the things that may cause you to feel afraid. Facing those things is where the courage comes in. So I want to strengthen us to feel emboldened to walk in courage. To walk in courage and to feel the dopamine release that comes, that sense of reward that comes with overcoming our fears and conquering our fears, facing our fears, seeing that which we might feel afraid of and going forward anyway. And to be able to feel the sense of the reward that it was worth it. To be able to feel the sense of the reward that it was worth it and more. Okay. All right. So let's stimulate within us our own inner warrior. Now, when I say a warrior in this context, what I'm referring to is one who, even if they get knocked down, they continue to get back up. There's a scripture that talks about the race isn't given to the swift nor to the strong, but to the one that endures until the end. So to be able to strengthen us, for us to be strengthened with staying power, with the ability that no matter what this matrix of illusion might throw at us, even if we get knocked down, we can get back up again. And get back up again. And get back up again. That we might be rubber butt people. That even when we get knocked down on our butt, we bounce right back up. Okay? Metaphorically speaking, obviously. All right. Okay. And even as we're doing this work, even as I'm doing what I'm doing on my end, on your end, I certainly want to invite you to not even analyze so much what I'm saying, not to try to figure it out or necessarily make it make sense, but just to sit with it. I want to invite you to not worry about thinking, but just allow yourself to be present with what it is that comes up for you from inside. And even as I'm working, just sit with yourself and ponder that question that we're dealing with today. Why did I come here? Why was I born? Why did I come here? I'm going to continue working as you just quietly, within the stillness of your own beingness, allow yourself to sit with that, to be present with that. You want to ponder the questions. What was it that you knew as a child? When I was a child, I would have these deep theological conversations with the religious family, the members of the religious family that lived 2 doors down from me. And there were things that they would say that didn't, even as a 10-year-old child, that didn't make sense to me. They just did not make sense to me. I couldn't resonate with a God of love, damning people and condemning them. And there would be times where reality would actually be altered, where I would consider no matter where I was or what I was doing, I was always me. I was always the same person. I might be in school. I might be outside playing with my friends on the weekend. I might be in bed sleeping at night, but it was always the same me. And then like reality would stop for a moment. Time would stop. And then it would take a moment to get moving again. All right. That was an experience that I would have as a child. But what was it that you would feel as a child? What deep inner knowing that you have as a child? What is it that felt natural to you before the world told you who it is that you were supposed to be? Putting in air quotes, that you were supposed to be. And what is it that still quietly calls you from within today? Again, I'm going to invite you to sit with that while I'm working in the background, helping to strengthen that within you and to be able to rise up to the surface for you. For that inner knowing to be able to make its way into your conscious awareness. And for those subconscious blockages to just be deleted, to melt like snow in a hot oven, We identify frequently with what it is that we do, with what our job is, with what our roles are, whether professionally or in our families or in our communities, what mission it is that we think that we have to accomplish, but purpose is not any of those things. And your identity, none of those things are actually worthy of your identity. You may say that you're a this, you may say that you're a that. What you are is an emanation and an expression of pure love and divine light. That's what you are. And you may have the role of being a mother, a father, a son, a daughter, an uncle, an aunt, a nephew, a niece, a brother, a sister, a grandparent, a grandchild, whatever it is that you do on your job, you know, those may be parts of your life, aspects of your life, but none of them are who you are. None of them fully capture your purpose. Purpose is a way of foreseeing and being and existing that you brought with you when you entered into the earth realm. You were born with something already present, already inside of you. You were born with something really unique and powerful. And the experience of your life has perhaps been that there have been things that have been put in your path to help cover that up rather than helping to create that, allowing space for that to be created and to blossom and to bloom and to come forth and to shine outwardly in the world. Okay. And so we're going to address those things. Energetically, we're going to address those things. Okay. The people who perhaps impose their fears upon you, want to delete those things from your consciousness, those fears, those programmed fears from your consciousness. And at the same time, strengthen you to be able to have a sense of peace and compassion for those who did that from a state of a lack of awareness. Because the truth is that people generally are doing the best that they know in any given moment. And while they may know better in one moment than another, people really are doing the best that they know in a moment. And maybe your parents weren't able to give you exactly everything it was that you needed in a moment. Perhaps people that you've been romantically involved with weren't able to give you everything that you needed in a moment. Perhaps people that you've considered close friends and have welcomed into your inner circle weren't able to necessarily give you everything that you needed in a moment. And perhaps to the contrary, perhaps all of these people gave you what you might have felt like was the opposite of what you needed. And yet there's a reason that that was part of your path. There is a reason that that was part of your journey. And I want to invite us to get in touch with whatever that deeper reason is, to be able to allow our hearts of compassion to be open wide. And though our hearts of compassion may be open wide, that doesn't mean that we have to let anybody and everybody into the innermost chambers of the secret recesses of our soul. Not everybody is necessarily worthy of a front row seat in your life. Not everybody is necessarily, though they may have your best intentions at heart, not everybody is necessarily operating from the place of greatest wisdom regarding your specific and unique path and journey. And rather than allowing ourselves to be victimized by the mistakes and the shortcomings of others, and a victim cannot exist without a victimizer. And so rather than demonizing anyone else who fell short of giving what it is that you felt that you needed, or what would most nurture and support you. Want to strengthen us to be able to have a heart of compassion, to forgive ourselves for the judgments that we've had towards others, and to forgive them for failing to meet up to our expectations of them, including if their failure to meet up to our expectations of them is somehow engaged in some entanglement of their projection of how we failed to meet up to their expectations for us. Okay. And so we lay aside those expectations that are rooted in something other than divine truth, that are rooted in something other than divine purpose, but that are rooted in a misperception of some sort. We make room for the fact that we've had misperceptions and others have had misperceptions, and we welcome into this space, this time and space called now, the opportunity to enter into a place of realignment. Strengthen us to enter into a state of realignment, of entering into a space where our hearts are purified and we're able to see through the lenses of clear eyes and purified hearts. We're able to listen not from the state of ego, but able to listen from our heart. To hear things from our hearts, not necessarily to let everything into our hearts that everybody says, because there's some things that need to pass through a filter, and only that which is pure love can make its way into. And so we construct around our hearts and we construct around our minds filters, not walls. The walls don't let anything in and don't let anything out. The filters only let in that which is worthy of coming in, that which is in alignment with our truest selves, that which is in alignment with our original innocence, that which is in alignment with the spark of God, uniquely expressed in, through, and as us. Okay. All right. And so one of the ways that we cover up that we contribute to the covering up of our own truth, one of the ways that we contribute to the covering up of our own purpose or our own awareness of why it is that we were born and why it is that we came here in the first place, is the ways that we project our stuff onto other people. So I want to clear away that tendency from within ourselves to project our baggage and our drama upon other people. We find it easier to recognize sometimes how others might project their drama and project their baggage upon us, but we don't always recognize when it is that we ourselves are doing. So I want to invite us again to sit with allowing that, which is really a survival tactic. You know, what we started earlier talking about how the essence of this question, why we were born, isn't something that we always focus on or that we always feel our way into, that sometimes we're so busy caught up in thoughts about how to just get through the day, right? Thoughts of survival, right? Rather than being present to that greater and deeper truth, right? Okay. So we're going to do a couple more energetic adjustments to help clear a pathway to realign with the truth that is within us already regarding why we were born in the first place, why we as souls ended up coming to this planet third from the sun that we call the earth. Okay. And so want to strengthen us to be able to find and realign with the joy of being, the joy of living, the joy of being present. There are plenty of things that we can find to be upset, angry, and disturbed by. Oh, the world is full of things that we can focus on to take us there. But to be able to see from a different perspective, I would say a transcendent perspective that actually helps to make us free, free to be. Okay. All right. Now, as we come, to the end of our time together today, I want to encourage you to not put any pressure or feel any sense of pressure to have a clear answer to that question. Why were you born? What I do hope, though, is that you'll leave our time together today from during this Sunday Hope and Healing session with a greater feeling, hope. Okay. A deeper sense of alignment with your true self, a different relationship with the question, right? A sense that maybe you're not searching for something out there, something outside of yourself, right? But that maybe conversely, you are remembering. And maybe you're remembering something that's been inside of you all along, right? You weren't born by mistake. You weren't born randomly. You weren't born empty. You weren't born broken. You weren't born without direction. But you were born with something already inside of you, something already present, something very profound and powerful. And this journey isn't really so much about finding it, but about gently uncovering what's been sitting on top of it for a very long time. What I refer to as the grit lines of the matrix, uncovering those, stripping those away. Okay. And so after we close out here today, I want to encourage you not to rush back into your day, but to just sit patiently and quietly with the question, why was I born? And then instead of just trying to find an answer, notice what you feel and notice what comes up for you. We're going to continue to explore this together. That's what this work is about. This work of transcending the matrix, this work of spiritual ascension. I'm really glad that you're here today, that you've invested this time in yourself to get in touch with the deeper part of yourself, to live fully in the truth of who it is that you really are and why it is that you were born. God, I know that every soul who's come here today, whether during the live broadcast or a playback, was born with a purpose, came here with a purpose to in some way realign with that divine truth. Thank you for the healing that's happened today. And thank you for helping to empower each of us to remember the answer to the question, why were we born? And for empowering us to live that out, to fully and completely live that out, even as we move about in the world. Thank you so much, as always, for these and all the other wonderful blessings that you bestow upon. It is done. It is done. It is done. If any of what you experienced today finds a resonance with your inner being, note that this is the kind of work that we're about. This is what we're exploring. And this is what we will continue to get much deeper into. That's what Transcending the Matrix is all about. And so as we continue to endeavor to enter into this sustainable state of supreme satisfaction, until we meet again, I bid you adieu with peace and love. And I'll catch you next time.